Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Karen Vibes, reading for the mature audience. And remember, you can find me on YouTube. That's KARENVIBES with an exclamation sign. So, good afternoon. Hope you're all doing okay. Hope you're having a good afternoon, as I am. Alright, so without further ado, we're gonna go straight in. Every time I come on, I say the same thing. Without further ado, we'll go straight into our book. Just put my glasses on. Yeah, I did promise to come on back the other day, the following day, but oh my goodness, I tell you, life is just so much things to do. The days go by so quickly. It's amazing. Time flies. I use this. It's amazing how time flies. I like to ensure my glasses is not foggy. I tend to always like to do that. Yes, guys, welcome back. Alright, so let's dive into our book. So the name of the book is Flowers in the Attic, and it's written by Virginia Andrews, and it's narrated by moi, Karen Weir. So let's get into it. So we had stopped, we're still at part 8, and the last sentence we stopped at is, "But this girl is only pretty," Christopher concluded. "Our mother is beautiful." So that's where we had stopped. So we're still at part 8 and we're going to continue. The silence of that huge space was so deep you could hear your heartbeat. Yet it would be fun to explore every trunk, to examine the contents of every box, to try on all those rotten, smelly, fancy clothes and pretend. But it was so hot, so stifling, so stuffy. Already my lungs seemed clogged with dirt and dust and stale air. Not only that, spider webs laced the corners and dripped down from the rafters, and crawling or slithering things rambled about on the floor or up on the walls. Though I didn't see any, I thought of rats and mice. Sometimes I lose where I was. I thought of rats and mice. We'd seen a movie once on TV where a man went crazy and hanged himself from an attic rafter. And in another movie, a man shoved his wife in an old trunk with brass corners and locks, just like these, and then he slammed down the lid and left her there to die. I took another look at those trunks, wondering what secrets they held that the servants shouldn't know. Disconcerting, the curious way my brother was watching me and my reactions. I whirled to hide what I was feeling, but he saw. He stepped closer and caught my hand and said so much like Daddy, "Kathy, it is going to be all right." There must be very simple explanations for everything that seems to us very complex and mysterious. Slowly, I turned to him, surprised he'd come to comfort and not to tease. "Why do you suppose the grandmother hates us so? Why should the grandfather hate us? What have we done?" He shrugged, as baffled as I was, and with his hand still holding mine, we both pivoted to look at the attic over again. Even our untrained eyes could tell where new sections had been added to the older house. Thick, square, upright beam divided the attic into distinct sections. I thought if we wandered here and wandered there, we would come upon a place for comfortable, fresh breathing. The twins began to cough and sneeze. They fixed resentful blue eyes on us, for keeping them where they didn't want to be. Now look, said Christopher, when the twins started to complain. We can open up the windows an inch or so, even to let in a little fresh air, and no one will notice. Such a little opening from the ground. Then he released my hand and ran on ahead, leaping over boxes, trunks, furniture, showing off while I stood frozen, holding to the hands of both my little ones, who were terrified of where they were. Come, come, come and see what I've found, called Christopher, who was out of sight. Excitement was in his voice. You should wait and see. You just wait and see my discovery. We ran, eager to see something exciting, wonderful, fun, and all he had to show us was a real room with plaster walls. It had never been painted, but it did have a regular ceiling, not just beams. This seemed to be a schoolroom with 5 desks, facing a larger desk up front. Blackboards lined the walls over low bookcases filled with faded and dusty old volumes that my perpetual seeker of all knowledge had to immediately inspect by crawling around and reading the book titles aloud. Books were enough to send him off on a high tangent, knowing he had a way to escape to other worlds. And I have to pause here to say this. I remember when I was a little girl, I was told that, never forget this, reading will take you to places you may never go. And that is so true. A lot of places in the world that you will not travel to go, and just taking up a book and reading is as if you're just transformed. So, yeah, reading does wonders. I was drawn up to the small desk where names and dates were etched, such as Jonathan, age 11, 1864, and Adelaide, age 9, 1879. Oh, how very old this house was. They were dust in their graves by now, but they had left their names behind to let us know that once they too had been sent up here. But why would parents send their children into an attic to study? They had been wanted children, surely, unlike us, whom the grandparents despised. Maybe for them the windows had been opened wide, and for them servants had carried up coal or wood to burn in the 2 stoves we saw in the corner. An old rocking horse with a missing amber eye wobbled unsteadily, and his matted yellow tail was a woebegone thing. But this white and black spotted pony was enough to bring a delighted cry from Corey. Instantly, he clambered up on the peeling red saddle, crying out, "Get you up, get you up, get you up, horse, get you up, get you up." And the pony, not ridden forever so long, galloped along squealing, rattling, protesting with every rusty joint. "I want to ride too, I want to ride too," bellowed Carrie. "Where is my horsey?" Quickly, I ran to lift Carrie up behind Corey so she could cling to his waist and laugh and kick her heels to make the dilapidated horse go faster and faster. I marveled that the poor thing stayed hinged together all these years. Now I had the chance to look over the old books that had charmed Christopher. Heedlessly, I reached in and took out a book, not caring what the title read. I flipped through the pages and sent legions of flat bugs with centipede legs madly scampering everywhere. I dropped that book, then stared down at the loose pages that had scattered. I hated bugs, spiders most of all. Worms next. And what swarmed from those pages seemed a combination of both. Such a girlish performance was enough to send Christopher into hysterics. And when he calmed down, he called my squeamishness overdone. The twins reined in their bucking bronco and stared at me in astonishment. Quickly, I had to reach for my poise. Even pretend mothers didn't squeal at the sight of a few bugs. Kathy, you're 12 and it's time you grew up. Nobody screams to see a few bookworms. Bugs are a part of life. We humans are the masters, the supreme rulers over all. This isn't such a bad room at all. Lots of space, full of big windows, plenty of books, and even a few toys for the twins. Yeah. There was a rusty red wagon with a broken handle and a missing wheel. Great. A broken green scooter too. Terrific. Yet there stood Christopher looking around and expressing his pleasure in finding a room where people hid away their children so they couldn't see them or hear them or maybe not even think about them. And he saw it as a room with possibilities. Sure, somebody could clean all the dark secret places where creeping horrors lived, and they could spray all over with insect repellent so nothing sinister was left. That grandmother, the grandfather. Sorry, let me read this back. Sorry, folks. So nothing sinister was left that was small enough to step on. But how to step on the grandmother and the grandfather? How to turn an attic room into a paradise where flowers bloomed and not just another prison like the one below. I ran to the dormer windows and climbed up on a box to reach the high window ledge, desperate to see the ground, to see how far we were above it. And if we jumped, how many bones we'd break. Desperate to see the trees, the grass, and where the flowers grew, where sunlight was, where birds flew, where real life lived. But all I saw was a slate black roof expanding wide beneath the windows, blocking out the view of the ground. Beyond the roofs were treetops. Beyond the treetops were enclosing mountains, hovered over by the blue mist. Christopher climbed up beside me and looked down, and looked too. His shoulders brushing mine quivered, as did his voice, when he said softly, "We can see the sky, the sun, and the night. We'll see the moon and the stars, and birds and planes will fly over. We can watch them for amusement until the day we don't come up here again." Why Christopher is such a positive person. He paused, seeming to think back to the night we came. Was it only last night? I'll bet if we leave a window open wide, an owl might fly in. I've always wanted an owl for a pet. For heaven's sake, why in the world would you want one of those things? Owls can turn their heads all the way around. Can you do that? I don't want to do that. But if you wanted to, you still couldn't, said Christopher. Well, neither can you, I flared, wanting to make him face up to reality. Like he insisted I do. No bird as wiser than owl would want to live locked up with us for even an hour. I want a kitty, spoke up Carrie, holding her arms up so she could be lifted to where she could see too. I want a puppy, said Corey before he glanced out of the window. Then he quickly forgot about pets for he began to chant. Outside, 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 Corey wants to go outside. Corey wants to play in the garden. Corey wants to swing. Outside, outside. Quickly, Carrie followed suit. She too wanted outside, the garden and the swings. with her bull moose voice, she was far more persistent with her wants than Corey. Now they were both near, driving Christopher and me up the wall with their demands to go outside, 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 outside. Why can't we go outside? Screamed Carrie, doubling up her fist and beating them against my chest. We don't like it in here. Where is Mommy? Where is the sunshine? Where is the flowers? Where does the flowers go? Why is it so hot? Look, said Christopher, catching her small battering fist and saving me from a bruising. Think of this place as outside. There's no reason you can't swing up here, like in a garden. Kathy, let's search around and see if we can't find some rope. We did search and we did find rope in an old trunk that held all sorts of junk. It was very apparent the Foxworths didn't throw away anything. They stored their trash in the attic. Maybe they were afraid of one day being poor and suddenly needing what was put away so miserably. With great diligence, my older brother worked to make swings for both Corey and Carrie. For when you have twins, you must never ever give them only one of a kind of anything. For seats, he used boards ripped from a lid of a trunk. He found sandpaper and smoothed away the splinters. While he did this, I hunted around until I found an old ladder with a few missing rungs that didn't hinder Christopher in the least from quickly reaching the rafters high above. I watched him climbing nimbly around up there, crawling out on a wide beam, and every move he made endangered his life. He stood up to show off his balancing skill. He swayed suddenly off balance. Quickly, he adjusted himself by putting out his arms, but my heart had jumped up, terrified to see him taking such chances, risking his life just to show off. There was no adult to calm him down. If I tried to order him down, he'd laugh and do even more foolish things. So I kept my mouth shut and closed my eyes, and I tried to shut out the visions I had of him falling, splattering down, breaking his arms, legs, or even worse, his back or neck. And he didn't have to put on any act. I knew he was brave. He had the knots. I knew he was brave. He had the knot securely tied. So why couldn't he come down and give my heart a chance to beat normally again? It had taken Christopher hours to make those swings, and then he risked his life to hang them. And when he was down, and the twins were seated on the swings, fanning back and forth and stirring up the dusty air, they were satisfied for perhaps 3 minutes. Then it began. Carrie started off. Take us out of here. Don't like these swings. Don't like it in here. This is a bad place. No sooner did her wail cease than Corey began. Outside, outside, we want outside. Take us outside, outside, we want outside. And Carrie added her chants to his. Patience. I had to have patience, deep self-control. Act an adult, not scream, just because I wanted outside just as they did. Now stop that racket, snapped Christopher to the twins. We're playing a game, and all games have rules. The main rule of this game is to stay inside and be as quiet as possible. Screaming and yelling is forbidden. His tones turned softer as he gazed down at their tear-streaked, grimy faces. Pretend this is a garden and under a bright blue sky, and tree leaves are overhead, and the sun is shining bright. And when we go downstairs, that room will be our home with many, many rooms. He gave us all a whimsical, disarming smile. Then, he gave us all a whimsical, disarming smile. When we're rich as the Rockefellers, we'll never need to see this attic again or that bedroom below. We'll live like princesses and princes. Do you think the Foxworth have as much money as the Rockefellers? I asked disbelievingly. Golly day. Wow. Troubled. That grandmother, something about her, the way she treated us as if we didn't have a right to be alive. Such horrible words, she said. You are here, but you don't really exist, she had said. We rambled about the attic, half-heartedly exploring this and that, until someone's stomach rumbled. I glanced at my wristwatch. 2. My older brother stared at me as I glanced at the twins. It must have been one of their stomachs, for they ate so little. But nevertheless, their digestive systems were automatically set on 7 for breakfast, 12 for lunch and 5 for dinner, and 7 for bedtime and a snack before. Lunchtime, I announced cheerfully. Down the stairs we tripped single file back into that hateful dim room. If only we could open the draperies wide to let in some light and cheer, if only, if only. My thoughts could have been spoken aloud, for Christopher was perceptive enough to say that even if the draperies were open wide, this room faced north and the sunlight would never enter. And just look at the chimney sweep in the mirrors. Just look, just like those from Mary Poppins. A spoken comparison to put smiles on the dirty faces of the twins. They dearly loved being compared with those charming people who lived in their kind of picture books. Since we'd been taught from our earlier years to never sit down to eat when we were less than spotlessly clean, and since God had his keenest eye riveted on us, we would obey all the rules and please him. Now, it didn't really offend God's eyes if we put Corey and Carrie in the same bathtub when they'd come from the same womb, did it? Did it? Christopher took over Corey as I shampooed Carrie, then bathed her, dressed her, and brushed her silky hair until it shone. And then I curled up her hair around my fingers till it spiraled down in pretty coils. Next, I tied on a green satin ribbon. And it would really hurt anyone if Christopher talked to me while I bathed. And it wouldn't really hurt anyone if Christopher talked to me while I bathed. We weren't adults yet. It wasn't the same thing as using the bathroom together. Mommy and Daddy had seen nothing wrong about bare skin. But as I washed my face, the memory of the grandmother's stern, uncompromising expression flashed before my eyes. She would think it was wrong. We can't do this again, I said to Christopher. That grandmother, she might catch us, and then she would think it evil. He nodded as if it didn't really matter. He must have seen something on my face that made him move forward to the tub so he could put his arms around me. How did he know I needed a shoulder to cry on? Which was exactly what I did. Kathy, he soothed, while my head was tucked down on his shoulder and my sobs came. Keep thinking about the future and all that will be ours when we're rich. I've always wanted to be filthy rich so I can be a playboy for a while. Only a little while. For Daddy said that everybody should contribute something useful and meaningful to mankind, and I'd like to do that. But until I'm in college and med school, I could sneak in a little fooling around until I settled down seriously. Oh, I see you mean to do everything a poor guy can't afford to do. Well, if that's what you want, go for it. But what I want is a horse. All my life I've wanted a pony. And we've never lived in a place that would allow a pony. And now I'm too big for a pony. So it will have to be a horse. And of course, all the while I'll be working my way to fame and fortune as the world's leading prima ballerina. And you know how dancers have to eat and eat, or else they'd be just skin and bones. So I'm going to eat a whole gallon of ice cream each day. And one day I'm going to eat nothing but cheese. Every kind of cheese there is. Put on cheese crackers and top it off with ice cream. And I'll work off the fat by dancing. He was stroking my wet back, and when I turned to see his profile, he looked dreamy, wistful. You see, Kathy, it's not going to be so bad. This short time while we're shut up here, we won't have time to feel depressed, for we'll be too busy thinking of ways to spend all of our money. Let's ask Mommy to bring us a chess game. I've always wanted to learn to play chess, and we can read. Reading is almost as good as doing. Mommy won't let us get bored. She'll bring us a few games and things to do. This week will pass in a flash. He smiled at me brilliantly. And please stop calling me Christopher. I can't be confused with Daddy anymore. And please stop calling me Christopher. I can't be confused with Daddy anymore. So from now on, I am only Chris. Okay? Okay, Chris, I said. But the grandmother, what do you think she'd do if she caught us in the bathroom together? Give us hell, and God knows what else. Still, when I was out of the tub drying off, I started to tell him not to look. However, he wasn't looking. Already we knew each other's bodies well, having been looking at them naked since I could remember. And in my opinion, mine was the best, neater. So folks, we will stop there. So we'll stop there for today, folks, and we'll be back again soon. Yeah, kind of, stories kind of just sad in a sense. Being locked up in a space, and these are siblings. They are maturing, growing up, kind of have that innocence about them and discovering. But as we go further, we'll see what happens. But although sometimes some of these things are just stories, some of these things do happen in real life, to children in different circumstances. But sad, but it's life. But anyhow, we pause there for today, and we will be back again in short order. So thank you, folks. I'm gonna go head out into the town. Need to go get some stuff for down at the house project that I'm working on. So we'll be back again. You folks have a good afternoon. Take care, be safe. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. You can go on YouTube, find me on Karen Vibes. So it's KarenVibes with an exclamation sign. And you will find me there. Remember to, what am I saying? If you need to order any of my teas, remember I have bay leaf tea, I have pimento tea, I have fever grass tea, and I have soursop tea. I have some more teas coming out on the market. I have some samples of mango and I have some samples of banana. So if you like to order some teas, you can call me on 426-9274. You can go on my Facebook page. You can go on my Instagram page, which is K Spicy Teas. And hopefully soon, not saying hopefully, soon, my teas will be in supermarkets. I will tell you folks all about that. as time progresses. All right, so that's Kate Spicy Tea. So please remember to support Jamaican stuff. You know, let us support each other. All right, guys. So, all right, gentle folks, not guys, gentle folks. See ya. Have a good weekend, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.